Hello, this is Joseph Rosenberger, go by Rosey. I'm the founder of Process Triage, the company, and have been teaching and coaching and facilitating process triaging for many, many years. My outcome for this 15, 20-minute overview is to acquaint you with what this one-day workshop is. It's our flagship service. The intended audience is for prospective sponsors and certified facilitators. Let's share my screen and I'll get right to it. Okay, it's one-day workshop. Get the control here. Okay, triage is a French word. It means to pick out or sort, and we know it mostly from the medical world. And in medical mass casualty event triaging, they're sorting very quickly a large number of wounded individuals, injured individuals, and they use tags. There are 4 of them, and typically, and here's an example of the kinds of tags we're talking about. There's red tags for immediate, a yellow tag for what's called a golden hour, or get to them within an hour. Green tags are walking wounded. We'll get to them after the reds and yellows are taken care of, and then the expired tag is one for recognizing that we need to treat someone with respect. Usually it takes 2 physicians to throw that tag. But what's important is the tag describes what type of solution this injury needs. And so it can be correctly handled and queued to the medical facility so the most injured patients can receive the care the promptest. In business process triaging, coincidentally, or there are 4 solutions to any problem that's happening with the process, any pain point, and those I won't unpack what those 4 are, other than give you a quick overview. It's analyze for a problem cause we don't obviously understand, design and best practice to address a cause we do understand but don't have a best practice for, train an existing best practice that needs training, or just simply enforce what doesn't need training. And again, I want to stress that every solution to a process problem will triage to one of those 4 kinds of solutions. And that triaging assignment includes an estimate of the level of effort it's going to take, and we summarize that to a small, action item, task size effort to a big, complicated project, smalls and bigs. Now, in our workshop, the process that the executive selects is the patient. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a minute, but typically with the triage team that we triage with, we'll look at about 30 points of pain and then sort the types of solutions and size them, and then we'll rank those solutions and which one should be worked first based on a capability goal. And extremely high return on investment if that list of proposals is worked. Okay. More about what this business process is. There's an old explanation of the core processes in business called the Find, Bind, Grind, and Mind series, or marketing, sales, delivery, and customer care. Might include manufacturing if you make what you sell. But generally, the initial triage will be basically sales and delivery, or what we call lead to cash or bid to cash. Okay, so it's going to almost always involve a number of skills and silos or sections, and we're triaging with no more than 12 experts from the company in those that together those triagers will represent the knowledge of how that company is runs. And what's important here is that this can be complicated work and we'll need an illustration of it, okay? And the team will build that illustration as part of the triage. Now, another thing that we'll need to be aware of is what's called a process capability goal, and it's nothing more than a statement of how well this process must physically perform by a certain date. And it's going to deliver the process's share of an overall enterprise goal, and it's typically measured by volume, speed, quality, and cash stewardship, like, on budget, on time, things like that. But what's important is that this capability goal ensures the strategic fit of every proposal coming out of the triage. Okay. Now back to these 4 solutions. The analyze and design solutions basically say that we got a design problem in the process. More cycles is greater risk. More cycles meaning if you just keep doing the process and ask more of it, you'll create crap faster. In other words, the process is not scalable where these solutions are needed, okay? Whereas a train an existing best practice or enforce a trained best practice mean that if you see those solutions in the process, it means we're talking operating system stuff, right? How we market, resource management. And it may be an indicator that you need to formalize your operating system with something like the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, or the great game of business or open book management, or the Gazelle Rockefeller approach to managing. See the idea? Now, this when we triage about 30 points of pain, we're going to generate a list of about 24 proposals generally. And when we look at that prioritized list of improvements, right, it's going to be a mix of analyze, design, train, and enforce, okay? And the more analyze and design, the greater risk and uncertainty of how you're going to scale, how you're going to improve. And then the relative proportion of task size smalls and project size bigs will give you an idea of, hey, what's the level of effort in the next 90 days, all right? So to unpack that a little bit, what we know is if there's a lot of project size analyze things, that's a much harder effort than, say, a bunch of small task size enforce existing best practices. And that's what's called the profile, the triage profile. Very, very interesting and instructive to the leadership team. Of course, any typical triage will be somewhere between these two extremes. Now, this 8 analyze, design, train, and enforce, think of that as a triaging moment or a cycle. And what happens is you get yourself all figured out and you grow, right? And processes work until, boom, they don't. And what we mean by that is that there's just a saturation, an overwhelming amount of things to look at based on how many things you're breaking down and how much pain the triagers at core teams going, hey, look, things are just out of control. And so you'll stop, hit a reset or do a triaging moment, okay, and implement your proposals, and you're off to the races growing again. Or you could have this same moment, hit the wall moment, we call it, and you have this triaging moment. And it turns out most everything's trained and enforced. So you actually have confirmed your design is okay, but your operating system, the way you're running things, isn't working. You've outgrown it. And so very, very powerful insights come out of these one-day workshops. All that to say, processes break as they grow. And sometimes they really stall out. And it's important to have in your leadership toolkit an ability, a skill set to go, you know what? This is a reset moment. Let's triage this process and see what, let's prioritize all the things we could improve. Okay, and you literally you grow, you triage, you implement, you grow some more, you hit the wall, you triage, you implement, and that's basically how we grow our way into constantly changing, constantly evolving processes, okay? So that's what this is all about. Now let's talk about the day. It's a full day, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, say. The sponsor, the executive sponsor, will kick off the day. It's a typically good to great core values moment. Generally not a break fix. We're here because of problems. We're here because we just want to grow and we need to take a look at this. And then the team, that triage team of expert go-tos, those deliverables that know the work, right? They're going to build a map together of the process so they all get synced up on, okay, here's how we say it works. And we're always mapping best practice happy path. Okay, so that's the philosophy of what we're doing. We'll break for lunch, typically a cold cut lunch, and then the sponsor's understudy, typically in the COO space, will be the host, and the host they'll issue that capability goal that's part of their pre-work, and then the team will identify their points of pain and then triage them into their proposals. Last thing they do is they rank them and then sign up to lead them, and then close remarks by the sponsor, and we're out of there. Now the sponsor is going to do kickoff remarks, and usually they leave during the mapping because it's delegated work, then come back at lunch and then observe the rest of the triage. And what I'm going to say by observe is they may ask non-leading clarifying questions, but remember, this is all delegated work to push out issue processing, that improvement narrative. All of that's being delegated to those who are living closest to it as a cultural value. Here's a snapshot of a team building their map. And of course, we'll need a room with a wall space to do that. Of course, we talk about that. Our facilitator will discuss that with the host. Okay. And here's a snapshot of a team posting pain points. And again, they're shoulder to shoulder watching each other, and hey, what's upsetting you, for example. I want to stress it's all about the ball, not the player. What's the process doing? We don't allow personalities to get involved. Okay, it's ball, not the player. And each of those, so just to again emphasize, we take that strategic objective, frame a physical capability goal that, again, with the host, and we'll identify pain points, and then those will be tagged, we call it, into a very very content-rich intellectual property method how to do it, and then that yields that list of ranked proposals. Of course, sponsors, you'll want the whole list worked, right? It all has strategic fit. You want to be able to refresh it when you want to, and of course that becomes your continuous improvement culture. And because you've delegated that to your triagers, your go-tos, your task experts, that frees you up for more longer horizon thought. Here's a picture of a host leading the team in ranking their proposals. Now the host here doesn't get to vote. It's all team led, okay? Makes sense? And then here's a snapshot of the team members, the triagers, signing up to mentor their own proposals. So for you prospective sponsors, right, they're already preparing to lead their own ideas, okay? So very quickly, here are the deliverables of the workshop. It's a synced up team with better situational awareness. They're going to have a little sharper IQ, emotional IQ toward each other because they've triaged, discuss their issues together, very structured. And of course, they sign up for improvements. These are all bottoms up, they're all bought in. That entire ranked proposal list will have strategic fit. And you also generate a map that is typically 1 to 3 years stable. We'll produce a poster for your team. That scalability profile is going to give you an idea of, hey, how hard is it going to be to implement this? And then there's a facilitator's report that we'll produce, your facilitator produces. And it's possible you might have some referrals that need experts, as some projects that need experts, because that kind of solution is not in your wheelhouse. Okay, your triager's gonna, your facilitator will literally lead the whole engagement. They'll they'll work with your host to set everything up. They'll run the triage day. They'll generate the initial analysis and coach the host in the post-triage planning. And of course, behind them is our support center. That we have the wisdom of 1,000 triagers. The engagement is basically an executive sponsor says, hey, they'll select the process, point their host, they'll give open remarks, they'll observe the triaging, they champion the follow-through, and if they want to look at case studies, they can review them with us. The sponsor's host basically preps with the facilitator, selects the team, drafts the capability goal, and owns the plan. And then the triage team, these are your go-tos, right? Your experts, everybody knows who they are. There's no preparation, right? Their knowledge of what they do is good enough, and of course they're going to lead their solutions. In terms of the whole level of effort, not a lot of in the pre-work. Workshop days, again, facilitator. Post-workshops, mostly host, and the triagers are going to focus on the day of the triage and the follow-through. And I want to stress, return on investment is in implementing their proposals. But that triage generates an amazing list, a high-value, bottoms-up, bought-in list with strategic fit. And there's again, just to emphasize, there's that triaging fosters cultural collaboration and situational awareness and high emotional empathy among that team. And those are two attributes of extremely high-performing teams, so it's a good cultural fit. Now, if you're already running on these branded operating systems, we know them, and we know how to plug the triage into the language of those operating systems, like EOS or Gazelle or Great Game or eMyth. Or on the flip side, if you're thinking about one of these branded operating systems, nationally we know who some great implementers are, and we can introduce you to them if you think you'd like to take a look at them. So contact. You can reach out. Look at our website. We've got a list of certified facilitators. Or reach out and talk to me, Rosey. Call me. Please text first, because if I don't know who's hitting my cell phone, I may not pick up. But we would be delighted. We'd be delighted to triage with you. So that's it. Again, my outcome was for you to get a sense of what this is and have a conversation with your facilitator on talking about case studies. Thank you very much.